What up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Santa Cruz Medicinals Radio. It's a rainy day here in California, and I think that's the only reason that we have my buddy Tanner, aka Beach Cowboy, here. Because usually when you're up here, you're surfing, but there's no waves, it's raining, so he pulled up to the studio, thank God. So shit, man, what's been up?
I came here to take a shower, hang out with Brendan, because I've been sleeping in my van for 3 days.
And use that organic Jaguar soap, that tallow raw honey soap.
Organic tallow soap. That was good. It was nice. I feel clean.
Code
ready
Santa
to
Cruz.
go. Code Beach Cowboys Santa Cruz.
We have competing codes at organicjaguar.com. Shout out to Austin.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so what do? We surfed 2 days ago, right?
Was it a couple days ago? Yeah, we surfed 2 days ago.
Yeah.
We got some fun waves in Santa Cruz.
Hell yeah.
Had a good time.
It was fun. It was windy. There were some waves, though.
That's right. It was. The wind was nuking.
Yeah.
We were just like getting blown all the way down to San Diego. Just
Basically.
another sign, bro. We got to get Brendan. He's got to get down there soon.
Almost, man. I'm gonna be in San Diego next week, so we're gonna link up down there, go surf Del Mar. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, for those who don't know, Tanner is a professional surfer. How did you get started? Obviously, like now, like you're more, I would say, into the big wave stuff in terms of the pro surfing stuff. Yeah. Obviously, you shred small waves. You'll still post clips, just like normal stuff, getting barreled, doing 360s, all that cool stuff. But I would say you're more focused on the big wave stuff in terms of like surfing. How did you get into all this? When did you start surfing? How did that happen?
Yeah, I grew up building racing off-road cars with my dad, so I was like a full desert rat. My social media is Beach Cowboy. Like I spent a lot of time at the beach and a lot of time doing redneck stuff. We have a ranch in Northern California that I've spent a good amount of time at, and I didn't really pick up surfing until 16 or so. I have horrible vision, so until I really got contacts, like the ocean was just the scariest place ever because it's already scary, and then you just take away your ability to see, and it's just super intimidating. And I picked it up at 16, had a couple friends that were doing it, and then fell in love with it and just never looked back. For whatever reason, I just felt like that's something that I really wanted to do with my life. I went to school, got a degree in engineering, tried the engineering world for a little while, and then just hated it. It wasn't really meant for me. I need to be moving and doing really physically and mentally challenging things. Otherwise, I kind of start to go a little insane. So I just kind of slowly transitioned into riding a little bit bigger waves. And then I went through some pretty gnarly mental health related times in my life, like dealt with PTSD and had to drop out of college for it, and was hospitalized for my mental health at one point, just going to the emergency room. And I, at that point, had started getting more into big wave surfing, and it was more on the means of that was the only escape that I had. It was the only thing that required so much focus and so much energy that you couldn't be lost in whatever thoughts you were. And that's before I learned whatever tools I use now to not be in that place. And yeah, just kind of did that. And then I graduated school. I took some time to work on myself, do everything. And then I got one wave on my mom's birthday at Mavericks. And that was the first real catalyst of oh no, this isn't a coping mechanism. This is something that I want to chase and pursue. So that's where all of that ended up.
So how does it get there? So you're 16, which you start surfing a little bit later than most people because you're in Oceanside growing up. A lot of people surf.
My dad surfed. I knew how to surf. I learned at a young age, but I would never want to go in the water because it was too scary.
And so you start kind of surfing more at 16. How did you get from most people? They start surfing. They surf slightly overhead waves, double overhead, whatever it is, but they never make that jump. When did you make that jump? What was it? A specific swell or wave, or how does that happen? I'm always curious how that happens. I don't get it.
It was a weird. I remember that I went to this wave Todos Santos off of Mexico with a buddy, and I had.
Isn't that one kind of in the middle of the damn ocean?
Yeah, it's 10 miles out. No. That's Cortez Bank.
Cortez Bank.
Yeah. Todos Santos is on an island that's 10 miles.
Todos Santos kind of looks like Mavericks, right? Like in terms of the video. When I see videos, I'm is that Mavericks? No, it's not.
It's no. They're so different. I guess if you don't necessarily if you haven't watched both of them a lot, it's I could see you might be able to get them mixed up. But Mavericks is just so much more prominent and powerful and scary. Todos is more of a real big peak, and then it's just going from Mavericks to Todos for me as a surfer is relaxing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's still scary for sure.
So that's like when I surf Santa Cruz, then I go surf San Diego or like Mexico. I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Exactly. Like it's still you got to be focused, but it's not as like Mavericks.
So
you
was
feel
that
like
the
you're gonna
first
die.
like big wave spot that you surfed, or like did you like paddle out on some big swells in San Diego and stuff? Like how did that happen?
So it's honestly crazy, and I would not recommend doing this. It's like pretty dangerous and just not smart.
That's what we like here at Santa Cruz and Systems Radio. We have a disclaimer at the bottom. Don't worry, man. Tell people to do whatever. Yeah.
I worked at a surf shop, Surf Ride in San Diego for a long time. And then I ordered a board because I could get a discount. I ordered a gun. It was 10-4 Paizel, and was just like, I want to surf Mavericks. I don't know why. I just had this thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody from Quicksilver like gave me an inflation vest, and I'd been doing all this training. And we met this guy in Central California, Tom Bulow, who'd been surfing Mavericks for a very long time. And we were up there, and he saw I had a board, and we were just talking about it. It was kind of like friends of friends that introduced us to him. And he was, been surfing it since the early 90s. And he's like, yeah, man, we'll keep an eye on it. Like, let's go. He's like one of the nicest dudes I've ever met.
Yeah.
And just one of the way he would talk about surfing big waves, like sometimes people think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Like I'm pretty timid when it comes to riding bigger stuff. My friends are crazy. Guys like Tom, like there's just something else with a guy like that, because the way he would talk about his wipeouts, especially back then, because there was no water safety, there's no inflation, there's no padded wetsuits. Like you're just a board and a leash.
Yeah.
Like that's it, So he got me introduced, and then there was one swell. I remember it was during finals. It was the weekend before I took my finals in engineering.
Yeah.
And he was like, you should come up. Like the buoys are big, the swell direction it was perfect, because we went up there and he like paddled me out, and he's like, okay, cool. Like we're just going to watch it. And it was the perfect intro size to Mavericks. It was as glassy as you could ever imagine it, and sunny, like one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen, like still so clear in my head. And I got like, I think 4 or 5 waves, but the very first wave that I ever caught there, I like got on the bowl and stuck an airdrop and like rode it all the way through to the channel.
Damn.
And was just like, I can't believe that this just happened. Like
it
was the craziest thing ever. And that's not something I would recommend, going from basically like 3-foot beach break in Oceanside to a wave like that, because you're not mentally or physically ready to really take that on. Yeah, I just ended up, I feel like I just got really lucky. That was kind of the path that I should have been on, right? Like that's kind of how I like to take that experience. But yeah, it was crazy, and I'll never forget that. I don't think I surfed it for like 3 years after that, maybe 2 years after that. And then I graduated school, and then I decided I wanted to do it full time. And
Damn.
I've just been trying to figure out how to make that happen ever since.
So for somebody who's just watching this and they've been in the ocean before, and there's probably different levels, but like, for me, like I'll get into the ocean and like maybe the waves are like, 4 feet or something like that. And you get this feeling of getting thrashed around when you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Everybody sort of felt that getting in the ocean, you just swim out there and you get that thrashed around feeling. What I don't get about big wave surfing, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like you are crazy. Is if that wave that I'm getting thrashed around on was 20 times the size, and who knows how much actual like more power it had, I don't get what that would feel like. So walk me through that. We'll have a clip maybe play right here of you diving under like a huge wave. So like, because I'll see a wall of white water coming at me, like, just maybe about the size of this like, ceiling right here, which seems like really big people, but that's not like life threatening. And you're like, oh my God, it freaks me out. I get a feeling, a pit in the stomach. I try to go under it and it washes you back. You have to just go limp. You get sucked down a little bit and then you can come up. It feels like it takes a long time for me, but that is literally like a 4 or 5 second thing max when that happens to me. But for you guys, it's way different. Walk somebody like, what is that like? What is going through your mind there, and what does it feel like?
There's 2 different ways that can happen. You can wipe out on a wave and then you get super hammered, but that's significantly less scary than getting caught inside. And I think every big wave surfer can attest to this. Like getting caught inside by a giant wave is like the scariest experience ever, because you see, especially a wave like Mavericks where the sun sets behind the wave and it's in the afternoon, because you see this thing coming up and just getting taller and taller and taller and taller. And you're paddling and there's this point of you're thinking, because sometimes it's better to paddle in than it is to paddle out. Yeah, so because the initial impact of the wave is the most powerful. And yeah, so you're paddling and sometimes there's just no hope, right? And like yesterday, for example, I got a wave and then it doubled up super gnarly and I had to jump and then I just got like lipped in the back of the head and got like pretty pounded, but the wave behind it was double the size. And you come up from getting worked.
Yeah, you're just in the impact
and
zone.
then you turn around and there's just like a a giant white watch coming at you.
What do you do there? Do you try to swim as deep as possible?
No, I was trying to pull my GoPro out, so I could film it. I had
Smart
my GoPro
decisions,
in my
smart
wetsuit,
priorities.
but I couldn't get it
this
out.
would go off on TikTok. Ooh, this would give me a lot of Instagram views. Let me get this.
Oh my gosh, I thought it'd be so funny because I think I get caught inside a lot, so I think it's just kind of comical. But yeah, in that point, like, there's no sense in going super deep. Because like the wave's gonna get you no matter what, and the deeper you go, the more energy you're gonna expend, the more oxygen you're gonna use. So essentially, like in that situation, you dump as much of the CO2 as you can. Like I had a few seconds, so I could take some breaths, and you get rid of all the CO2 that you built up from that initial wipeout. Yeah, you get it out. Yeah, you want to get rid of the CO2, and then you just like take a big breath, and like I like to go under the water, probably like a foot, just kind of like go down. We wear like inflation and padded suits nowadays, so you're not as like densely buoyant as you would normally be. So you have to kind of force yourself down a little bit. And then I cover the back of my neck and my head, and then try to curl into a ball, and then you just like get ripped to shreds. Like sometimes you can't even hold that. You're just like you're getting tossed and blown every which way, and then sometimes you're just like it feels like you're like bouncing on the surface, and then you get sucked back down again, and then you're just getting like ragdolled, and you don't know which way is up, and then eventually it just lets you go and you come up and
Jeez, man, sounds fun.
It's like
I'll stick to my 3 to 4 foot beach break. Oh my God, man.
It's like a pretty violent car crash every time.
Yeah, no, from what I've heard from some big wave surfers is, like when I fall in like a little wave and stuff, like, hey, you just kind of like stay like this so your board doesn't hit you, whatever.
Yeah.
But I've heard that people have blown out their shoulders, knees, and stuff from just getting ripped. I mean, it's much like jujitsu in that way, where like you can get heel hooked basically, or like knee barred, because like this white water is just ripping you in so many directions that like you don't really have control over it. So for people that just maybe surf like fun waves like me, but want to challenge themselves a little bit, so you're saying if they're in a bad spot, getting some of that air out and then getting a good breath in
if you have time.
If you have time. So you see a wall of white water, you want to breathe out, get some air out, and then get a big breath in. Yeah, get some of the CO2.
Because you have enough oxygen to keep holding your breath, but you want to dump as much of that CO2 as you can. And then
CO2 buildup is what causes that feeling of panic and needing to breathe.
Yeah,
right?
the CO2 buildup is what's going to do that. So yeah, you want to dump it. And then honestly, I think I just laugh like with any situation, like in life that's stressful or whatever it is, especially in that situation. If you can laugh and you think it's funny, it makes it so much easier for that to happen. Like yesterday, for me, I've actually had a pretty good season. I didn't really get caught inside this year. And this was the first time that I was getting actually smoked at Mavericks this season because I made all my other waves this year. And I thought it was so funny that it was the last day, like the last wave, the last swell that I get caught like that. And I see my friend who's running water safety, Drake, he's like going up and over the wave. And I'm just like, bro, he thinks he's laughing so hard at me right now because he's like, he saw me jump and then get worked and then he's having to come get me. So you just kind of make light of that situation, like laugh, like,
yeah, well, if you panic, like when you're trying to hold your breath, it's insane how quickly that just burns up all of your oxygen.
Right.
Like,
you're done.
Yeah, you're done. So like it's like, and then what's also surprising from what I've learned from breath holding is how much longer you can hold your breath than you think.
Oh yeah.
Like once you start to get those panic, you still have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you do and you don't, right? But like that's been surprising for me to learn when I was just messing around with some breath holding, swimming in the pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. But you don't even do that much pool training, right? Like
I don't do like any. I want to do more. It's just really hard. I travel so much that I can't like.
Yeah, where's the
It's
pool?
like when I'm around, and then they have the classes. Like Deep End Fitness is the best thing you can do for your confidence in the water. Like bar none, best thing you could do. And I love doing those, but it's hard because they don't have them very often, and it might not align with my schedule or whatever's going on. So that's like the biggest thing. Just having the ability to like, you can sense yourself start to panic because there'll be times where it's like, I'll be out the back and I know I'm going to get caught inside and I start to feel it kind of creep up, and you have to be able to like turn that dial back and just kind of like turn it into something funny and light, like that's pretty much just how that goes. Like I had a friend who, which talk about getting like ripped, your limbs getting ripped off. One of my best friends, Steve Rice, we were at Jaws and he got caught inside on the set of the day. First time I had ever been to that wave, and the wave exploded his board so quick and fast that it with his brand new leash, it shattered his femur.
Oh my God.
So then he had a 2-wave hold down. We had this crazy rescue mission. Like, you know, like I was having to like when you break your femur.
If you break your femur in good conditions, you can die. If you break your femur playing basketball, you can die.
Yeah, because your femoral artery. So imagine like breaking your leg, and then the thing's just going everywhere.
Oh my God.
And then dude. I don't know how he didn't like pierce that artery. So then we get him on the boat because we had water safety and all this stuff. But we get him on the boat, and like I'm putting traction on his leg and watching it swell up. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna watch like one of my best friends like bleed out right now. Like there's nothing you can do. Like you can try to put a tourniquet on it, but at that point, if it had already been bleeding, like he would have been dead. So it was just this crazy thing of like, okay, hold on, like take a breath and like turn the dial back.
Yeah.
Let's just like focus on this and then see where that goes. Like just take the blows as they come, I guess.
Is he alive?
Yeah, he's alive. He's surfing.
Hell yeah.
He surfed Jaws again for the first time. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We had a moment this year. Like I ran water safety for him when he was out there, and his first day back at Mavericks from from the injury, he had a 2-wave hold down.
Okay, great.
So not a good
Look. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about Nazaré. Nazaré is this spot that has gotten so famous because of the HBO documentary, The 100-Foot Wave. The biggest waves in the world are out there at Nazaré. What the hell got into your brain where you're like, I want to surf that. I want to go surf this massive wave that breaks against cliffs. Throw some clips of Nazaré rolling while like this is going on right now. It looks so scary. Like it looks like it's a massive wave that breaks into a cliff just from like footage of it.
Nazaré is one of the sickest places in the world. It's my favorite place in the world, bar none. It's the only big wave that I've traveled to, or maybe any wave that I've traveled to where I instantly felt like I was at home. Like I paddled out and felt like I understood what was going on at that place. And I think it's because I was raised at beach breaks, right?
Yeah, and it is a beach break.
Yeah,
right?
it's a big beach break. Yeah, and I've I grew up surfing waves like blacks, which are very similar. Like they're kind of cousins in a way. Like the way that the waves that blacks break are similar in some ways to the way that the waves that Nazaré do. Just both of them have a canyon off the coast that like funnels the energy and then causes them to make those big peaks. And surfing Nazaré is one of the most incredible experiences ever. Like surfing for me is so much more about like the spiritual aspect than it is about the physical or like ripping or whatever. Like I don't care. Like you see me, I ride a soft top like 90% of the time.
Yeah, he fucks around. Like it's still like absolutely like ripping, but like there's a certain way in the professional surfing thing, like what if you're watching this, like what Kelly Slater does and like the pro tour, there's a certain way that you're supposed to surf a wave to get a high score. Right. And so that's just infiltrated just like surfing, how people surf anywhere now at like breaks. So like if you go paddle out at Santa Cruz, when people catch a wave, they will try to surf it in a certain way to like rip it the most, but rip it where like they would get like a 8.0 on like the QS. It's weird. And I think that's cool. I'm a fan of that. I like watching that, but seeing how you surf like waves is just funny. I mean, it just goes to your personality. Like you just don't give a shit. Like you'll do some of those turns, it's like big hack, like turns, but then like you'll try to do a 360 and land switch. You'll do these like wraparounds and another wraparound. And then, like you just seem to have fun with it, which I think is key. So first time surfing Nazaré for you, what was that like?
The first day I paddled out, I remember we paddled from the beach because there's two ways you can paddle out. There's like that massive cliff. There's a huge cliff at Nazaré, and then there's North Beach or Prado North, and there's like basically like 3 or 4 different peaks. There's like first peak, second peak, third peak, fourth peak, and the paddlers generally stick between like second, third, and fourth because first peak is really close to the rocks. And if you don't have a jet ski, because I paddle into the waves at Nazaré, if you don't have a jet ski, like you'll just get washed into the rocks, and like that's not where you want to end up. Like you will die if you go there.
Not good.
So that first session, I remember I paddled out, and it wasn't good, and it was stormy and weird, and I got one right and came in and was kind of like, oh, like that was really fun and cool, but it didn't really feel like that was it. And then the next day, I paddled out, and it's still to this day like the best big wave session of my life. Damn. Like there was 4 or 5 of us, like all super underground, like people who just wanted to ride big waves. There's a big wave surfer hostel like on the beach at Nazaré. We're all staying there. Everyone paddled out together, and it was like, I don't know, like 30 feet on the face and just crystal blue water offshore, warm, sunny. Like the water was just insane. Like not a drop out of place. And I remember I got one wave that I'll never forget dropping in on, and I'll send the clip so you can have it playing over right now. And I remember dropping in and then just getting absolutely annihilated by the lip because I didn't know at the time, like everyone thinks Nazaré is just a big burger. Like you can't get barreled. Like if you don't surf, getting inside the actual wave is the main goal basically of any surfer. And Nazaré was very soft, so it didn't really give you that opportunity until I realized that there's plenty of days where there are. It's just there aren't too many people that are actually actively looking for that, or it's just not documented, or whatever it is. And I went, and instead of pulling in, I just kind of tried to ride out into the flats and out and around. And the section that I could have pulled into just like exploded behind me and it ripped my leash off. Like the explosion was so violent, bro. It just ripped my leash off. Like the Velcro was gone.
What did you do? Because I mean, I've like lost my leash at like, a 4 foot, 5 foot Ocean Beach SF before. And I was like, that was a near death experience for me. So like for real, no, I'm dead serious, bro. Like, dude, I paddled out at Ocean Beach SF. No, dead serious. I was like 20 something years old. This is when I was like, not like I am now. Like I just want to surf fun waves. I was like, oh, like maybe I want to push it. Like I want to get barreled at Ocean Beach. So like it was like just probably like a 5 to 7 foot day there. Yeah. And I make it out, which is probably the worst thing for me to happen. I make it out. I shoulder hop like some wave, and like kick out, and just a massive wave to me is going on me. I dive under it, come up. It's the worst feeling. Everything's gone. You're just out there in the ocean now as if you just swam out there. So I swim in, and I'm just, and like, I know it's bad because somebody paddling out, like when I was almost in, luckily, they're like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm good. Because I was already almost in at that time. But I was like, it was a dicey situation. So, that's my reduced version of it. So you're at Nazaré now. You're just out there. Yeah. No, what do you do?
Now to come to think about it, I've had this happen a couple times, and I stopped using those leashes because of that reason, because they kept getting blown off. I had the same thing happen at like gigantic Ocean Beach. I didn't even make it out, and then I lost my board all the way to the beach. It took me like 40 minutes. But yeah, for Nazaré, the thing with that place sometimes is that when there's different sandbars. There's like an inside sandbar, and when it's big, there's the outside sandbar. So I got blown up on the outside sandbar, and then eventually get worked into the inside sandbar. But what happens is you just get stuck in this like cauldron where you're just like getting smoked and smoked and smoked. So for like 5 minutes, I was just getting pounded in there. And then eventually I was able to make it in. But yeah, you just like swim in. I don't know. There's only one way for you to go.
I would die. 100%.
You're going to make it to the beach eventually.
Like, oh yeah, lifeless body. Yeah. that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though.
So we're going to get into current events soon. What I wanted to, so let's say somebody's watching this. I get people asking all the time, like, yo, I want to start surfing. I want to learn how to surf. What would you recommend for them? And then once they get into that, like surfing has a horrible culture in California. It has some really good aspects.
All over the world, not just California.
Yeah, all over the world. All over the world. I would say we are the good aspects of it. No. But I would like to think. We're the only two good people. No, but there are like really cool people. But so one of the things is like once you start surfing, when you paddle out places, you'll hear people yelling at each other, swearing at each other. Sometimes it's needed, but oftentimes it's not. And obviously, there's spots that you just can't surf. There's localism. You can have a surf session ruined if you don't know kind of what's going on. So what would you say to somebody that's like, I want to learn how to surf, looks hella fun. What do you do?
Take a lesson for sure from like a reputable company. I actually just did some videos for Tommy Tsunami Surf School. They're guys who like have been born and raised up in the Bay Area. So if you're going to be up here, do it for, I would, say just go through them. And then if you're in Southern California, Learn to Rip Surf Lessons or North County Surf Academy. Both are in Oceanside. Those are other great options. Like learn from somebody who knows what they're doing. There's a lot of people out there who do kind of shady lessons that aren't as legit, and they might not have as good of equipment or wetsuits or whatever. Like spend the money, like spend a couple $100 and just take a good lesson, mainly because you don't want to learn bad habits from the start, because those habits are damn near impossible to break if you've been doing them for 6 months or a year or 2 years. Some people have been doing them for 10 years. Like I've worked with, I've done some coaching and worked with people that you're trying to like break a 10-year-old habit. Like we all know what that's like. It's tough. It's tough. So yeah, take a lesson and then buy a soft top and just stay on the soft top for as long as you can.
And buy a halfway decent soft top. Like
buy a good soft top.
One of the things I learned about the wave storms, because like I'd buy my friends like wave storms or whatever. Is they don't have wooden stringers, and that doesn't allow the board to turn as well. So now there's been soft top companies who are making boards. They're just a bit better built. Like we have some of the Odyssey catch surfs. You have, what's the soft top you have?
Yeah. So Formula Fun, I would say, is the best one, because the catch surf ones, And pretty much every other soft top besides Formula Fun, they use what's called an open cell foam, so it takes on water. So over
dude, they're
time,
disintegrating they're disintegrating over
they're
there.
500
But we'll throw
pounds.
like Connor on one of them, and he has a blast.
Yeah.
But they are definitely disintegrating. So I got to
Yeah.
get some Formula Fun ones. But
Yeah.
get a good soft top.
A good soft top, and spend a couple $100 on a good wetsuit, and then just I don't know. I mean, you could buy a used wetsuit. You could buy used all of this if you want. I wouldn't want to buy someone's used underwear, so I don't know if I'd want a used wetsuit.
Hey, organic cotton boxers, organicjaguar.com. Buy my used organic. You never know. If times get tough, man.
Yeah.
I might have to, figure it out. Okay, so you got them out there on a soft top now,
Yeah.
and should they paddle out at Mavs or OB, or where should they go?
Stick to waves that are like well within your skill level. If you're up here, I really only know
Cowles
of
is
Lindemar.
good. Yeah, Lindemar is great. Lindemar's near San Francisco. Great learning
yeah.
spot.
Or Jax, I think in Santa Cruz, like kind of Pleasure Point, and then in San Diego, La Jolla Shores is a great option. Pacific Beach. Where does Austin live?
Yeah,
PB,
Tormo,
right?
PB.
Tourmaline.
That's a good place. For
That's a
beginners.
good place. But you just want to look for a long, flat, wide open beach where there's not too many people around.
Yeah.
Some of these spots that we mentioned like might have some people out, but if you're really just learning, go out to just any beach break, like any long and flat beach break where the waves are breaking like 100, 200 yards out, and just ride whitewash.
Yeah.
And get your reps in,
Good at
learn how
popping
to
up.
control your board, learn how the ocean works. Don't worry about surfing good waves because you're just not ready for them yet. Once you're at the point to where you're sitting outside and catching the waves before they break and then riding them all the way to the beach without any trouble, that's when you're kind of ready to start exploring other, more challenging waves. Like obviously you're not going to be ready for anything crazy like blacks, but that's one of the main things that I see is there's a lot of people who just aren't ready for a lot of these waves out, like on a big day at blacks, like if you paddle out on if you paddle out on the south end of the beach, it's pretty easy to just make it out. And then the problem with that is then they don't know where they're sitting, and then they get in the way. And it's like if you're trying to pull into like a solid wave or like get barreled, and there's somebody that doesn't know what they're doing that's gonna bail their board in front of you, like you're a hazard to everyone else and to yourself. So that's the biggest thing is just stay within your limits until you are fully confident, or you have a couple buddies who are like, no, cool, like let's go and take you out here, or that sort of thing. Like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I would totally agree, and just have fun with it. And like once you know how to surf, just find spots that are fun that you have a good time with, and avoid the bad vibes, man, because they're out there.
They're
sometimes.
definitely out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear people screaming at each other.
Oh
and
my
you're
gosh,
like,
there's like
"Oh
so
my
much childhood trauma being yelled out in the lineup and surfing sometimes.
My favorite story with Santa Cruz surfing and people yelling at each other is I did jiu-jitsu in Santa Cruz, and one of my coaches was this small Brazilian guy, like shorter than me, like skinny Brazilian guy, but a black belt, like many times over, like a really good black belt. And he told this story of he was surfing at the lane, and he was like, I was minding my own business, and some guy just kept splashing water at me, yelling at me, telling me to get the fuck out of here, all this stuff. And he's like, this guy was, black belts are usually like very like passive people. Like he's like, okay, bud, like no worries. And he said the guy comes up to him and grabs him by the neck in the water and is like, you need to get the fuck out of here. We're gonna go to the beach, like really trying. He's like, okay, he doesn't even speak much English at the time. He's Portuguese. He's like, okay, we go to the beach. We go, come on. The guy's like, all right. And the guy just unfortunately didn't know. If you're ever trying to fight somebody and they're like, sure, yeah, let's go. You should like,
or if they're like their ears are a little messed up.
Yeah,
like,
he does have like pretty bad cauliflower ear. And the story is they went to the beach, they went up there, he said, I'm gonna whip your ass, and obviously the dude says he just double legged him, took his back and choked him out completely unconscious. It's a hilarious story. It's such a hilarious story.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't do any of that, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go surf. I think it's one of the best things ever, man. Like there's nothing like that for mental health. There's no feeling like getting in the ocean. I mean, I just absolutely love it. I don't know from a health aspect. I mean, there's many different things going on. Like obviously there's the whole spiritual side and like everything else it does that we can't quantify. But like from like an actual thing that we can quantify, it's like in California, you're getting cold exposure because the ocean's cold. That's really good for you. Mm-hmm. You're getting mineralized, like the science behind grounding and getting your body mineralized are solid as hell. So you're definitely doing that. You're away from your phone, so there's no screens. You're doing something surfing is hard, dude. When you paddle and like, anything above like head high and you surf like a few hours, like you're going to be tired. Your shoulders, your back, your neck, you're paddling. That's most of surfing is paddling.
Yeah.
So it gets your cardio good. And then you get to do this really fun thing that's just like you have to be creative, you have to use strength, you have to use flow, and you slowly get better at it over time, which is really good for your brain. I don't know of anything I like more than surfing fun waves, I have to say.
Yeah, there's nothing even comes close. Like snowboarding, lifting, rock climbing, nothing for me. Like I haven't found anything that comes even into the same ballpark as what surfing is and does. There's just something about like it's the only sport where you're being sent back to where you started every time. Like the ocean's always trying to send you back in, always throwing you new challenges. It teaches you more life lessons than you'll ever be able to count or even quantify, because one of the main ones is like the ocean, everything in the ocean is changing all the time. Every wave is going to be different, every bump, like the way the water moves, the tide is changing, like nothing is ever the same. And you can take a lot of those same lessons that you'll learn about persistence and paddling out on a big day, or being able to handle those big beatings and just translate them directly back to real life. Because like if you can take that where you have no control over anything, then when you go into like a real life situation, you can keep your calm and make smarter and better decisions. And that's just like one of the, I could write a book about how like the benefits of surfing.
Facts. Go surf, people. Let's get into current events. Let's see what's going on in the world.
What's going on.
And we'll break them down.
I don't know what's going on in the
Beach
world.
Cowboy. He knows. He doesn't know.
I don't.
We're not going to be
no
surfing
idea.
Current events. Kelly Slater. No.
No, honestly, not even surfing current.
Yeah,
all I do is film and edit at this point in my life.
All right, current event. All right, Baltimore Bridge collapse. Did you see the Baltimore Bridge?
I've seen like one picture. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
devastating, crazy. I think you told me about it. Actually.
Yeah, I was
it's
telling you about it when we were
devastating.
surfing.
It's
I was like,
insane,
did you see the? And you were like, no. I was like, no, it was like a whole interstate. Like
that's
it
insane.
was, so I guess a good spin for a current event for this is, as somebody who spends so much time in 47, 50, whatever, 50-something degree water in dangerous scenarios, you're driving on that bridge. Your car flies into the 47-degree water. As somebody who's very experienced in basically those situations, not your car being in there, but what do you do? That's you. That's Tanner. You're driving your van. Tanner has this van where he drives on the other side. It's like a Japanese car.
It's Mitsubishi Delica.
Okay, so you're driving. You're in Baltimore. Boom. Next thing you know, you're flying, but you're alive. You hit that water. You're alive. What do you do?
The bridge doesn't land on you.
Luckily, the bridge didn't land on you. Now you just have to survive in 47-degree water. What are your like tips for people if they end up in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is the same concepts we were talking about earlier. I don't know. I feel weird talking about this.
It could help somebody.
Yeah. Like if you get put into that situation, I think I would just essentially when you so if your car crashes into the water, you should always roll the windows down like immediately, because your car will start to sink, and if if there isn't enough water in the car, the pressure of the water will keep the doors closed.
I've seen that.
There's a thing on Mythbusters about that. Yeah, so it's either you can find a way to bust your window, or because you're going to start sinking. Honestly, it's better if you start sinking, you fill up with water, because then you get the initial cold shock over with. You'll be able to open the doors super easily. Like once there's water in the car, like you can just open the doors.
But if I'm driving, and my car hits water, like maybe like Bay Bridge or whatever, near the bay, and boom, I hit water. The best thing to do, if I could still do it, is put the windows down immediately.
If your car's sinking, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if your car's sinking, because you want it to fill up, unless you can get the doors open. Obviously, immediately try to get the doors open. But if you can't,
I could get out
you
the
need
window.
to let the car. Yeah, you could get out the window, but you have to break the window.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or there's. I feel like. See, I don't feel like I'm qualified because I don't really know.
You qualified.
And then just when you get up, maybe like if you can grab like a seat cushion or something to hold on to, and then make an assessment of where you can go that might be safe. Like it might not be the shore, but if only one part of that bridge is affected and you can swim 100 or 200 yards to like a part that's not, then you can go swim over there.
Yeah.
Or just like do what you can to start swimming. Because there's like clubs in the San Francisco Bay, the water's like 50, low to mid 50s, and they just swim without wetsuits. And, they're a little bit more conditioned to it, but I think if you stay active and you keep swimming, you'll survive a lot longer because your body temperature is like easier to kind of keep up, I guess.
Facts.
But yeah, I think that would be my best suggestion is make sure you get.
He would survive, man. Guys, use that if that happens to you. All right, next one. All right, so in New York City over the last week, I've started to see these videos on TikTok. It's like I think 15 women have reported that they've been walking on their phones in New York, and most of them said a homeless man came up to me and punched me in the face. but they're thinking it's like probably the same guy doing this, or maybe like a couple of guys. But like basically, to summarize it, women are walking in New York and they're getting punched in the face. It's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's not good. And I don't know, man. Like with what's been happening in some of these big cities, a few years ago, this story went viral. I did a video on it. A woman had a bucket of diarrhea poured onto her head in LA off of Skid Row. Okay? Literally. The worst thing anybody could imagine. And I don't know, like it frustrates me. Like I've filmed a lot in, downtown SF, and you see just like the craziness that's going on there. And then you see the numbers of this stuff multiplying, because in these cities we're telling people, hey, these people have mental health issues, they have drug issues, we should be, nice to them basically. We don't want to arrest them or apprehend them for that stuff. But then it's like, well, what happens when there's, 5,000 people with severe mental health issues walking around?
Yeah, like what percentage is gonna cause issues like that? Out of how many 5,000? Yeah, that's pretty intimidating, pretty scary. And there's no, because I've seen a handful of your videos on it, and there's no like real support system unless you're like not a drug addict or not an alcoholic. But then the biggest part of the problem is that everyone's like a drug addict or an alcoholic who lives on the street, because that's just the easiest thing. It's so easy to come by. Yeah, like it's just it's mind-boggling.
98% of the people actually out on the street in SF, like that are living on the street, are addicted to drugs, or they have severe mental health issues, or both. I don't know what image is being painted out there in the media. You are not coming across people, when we've interviewed probably 50, 60 people out there. We have never come across somebody who's been like, man, I just ran across hard times. I don't use drugs at all. I lost my job and I can't afford a, studio apartment in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm sure those people are out there. Understandable. Yeah, which is understandable.
Yeah, super understandable.
Those people are not wandering the streets of SF in the worst area, because they do not go there, because that is where drugs are being sold and done. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think unfortunately we're going to see more of this stuff unless something is done. We have to, I don't know, dude. It is horrible.
Yeah, I think, just more money has to get shifted from things that don't do us any good to things that do. I don't know enough about that. Like I have a few kind of mild opinions, but I haven't done enough research to speak on those particularly. But I think,
man, if you're a chick, be on your swivel, man. Don't be on your phone in New York or anywhere in any of these big cities. If you're walking in these places, there was a dude recently in California that was eating a human leg.
Bro, what is going on? Where do you find this?
You gotta get on Instagram, man. This is that was confirmed 100%. There was a guy. Okay, so here's exactly what happened. The story is out there. It's all confirmed. A man got hit by a train. They think it was another homeless man got hit. Okay, guy gets hit by a train in California, which is already like a really bad thing.
Yeah.
His body parts go flying.
Yeah, right. You just get mutilated.
Yeah, it's bad. Another homeless man on drugs grabs his leg. There is video of it, Tanner. There's video.
I don't want to see. Don't show me the video.
I will after. I will after. You don't have a choice. After you're going to see this video. Play it right here. It's blurred out. The leg is blurred out. Okay. He is leaning over, chomping on a leg, and guess what?
What?
It's a misdemeanor, because it's like wrongful handling of a corpse. So they can't even get this guy really off the streets. He's probably walking around, a city right now near you. So I don't know, man. We can't have this, man. That's just too much for me.
Dude, I don't believe that. That's crazy. That's just,
dude. It's
all the things that you just told me. Like
the worst part.
You're bringing a fresh, like a virgin onto your podcast, bro. Like I don't know.
The worst part, Tanner. The worst part to me is he was leaning over eating the leg. He didn't even bring it up or put it on a table or anything. He was leaning over eating it. So
what did you expect him to smoke it? He's homeless.
Yeah, put it in the Traeger, put some garlic salt on it, some Santa Cruz Paleo Blend 1, and figure it out.
Dude, that's just yeah.
It's dark. Yeah, it's about as dark as it gets.
Let's
go to a nice
like a positive
current event. Albert's like, I have none. Yeah. What? All right, Gen Z are doing what they're calling doom spending or something like that. Like they basically think the world's not going to be around for the next 20, 30 years. So they're just like, well, I'm just going to spend all the money I have, maybe go into like tremendous debt, and like that's their idea, that the world is not going to be around. I definitely don't agree with this at all. I think like if people knew history, the year 1945, just look up what happened in that year. Okay, 1945 was crazy. Look, we dropped nuclear bombs on Japan. Very bad thing, but like people should have thought the world was going to end then. It didn't. So I don't know. What do you think about this doom spending?
Is it doom spending, or is it because we can't make enough money to survive?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the thing?
I think it's
I think that's my problem.
I think if these Gen Z were all making $350K, they wouldn't be doom spending.
I don't think you'd be doing. I think as somebody who's kind of in the thick of it and like really trying to build up their career, living in I think just mostly in California, it's pretty damn hard.
Pretty impossible to not spend all your money.
Yeah, like literally every month it's kind of like net zero. Like
you know what's so crazy though? So like my mom used to tell me like don't spend all your money, and I literally when I was younger would like I've spent like not now, but like I used to spend all my money towards like different goals.
Well,
like,
that's
trips.
the thing. I'm also spending every dime I have back into like surfing or content or whatever.
So like people like ask me for like advice and stuff of like, oh, like I don't know if the focus should be when you're not making a lot of money to try to save small amounts of money. I think the better thing to do would be spend that money on stuff that will build you up as a human being or make you more money. That's what I did, and now I'm finally able to save money. But like, yeah, I think overall that's a good way to live life. Like,
I mean, the biggest investment you'll ever make is the one you do on yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's the biggest thing. Like that's kind of how I view it is okay, I net zero every month, but like, you know, I read this or I went on these trips and like this paid, you know, how many dividends in the long run to like make it as a professional surfer and a content creator. And it's just like, you know, there's so much more to it. But I think like maybe the doom spending is like buying stuff that like provides you no real value. Like, you know, you buy like a $500 t-shirt just because you want to spend $500 on the t-shirt.
Or because you think if they genuinely think the world is not going to be around, guys, the world is resilient, man. Like, I think the world's going to keep on rocking. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, that's what I think. Like, yeah, I have stuff prepared for an apocalypse. Yes, of course.
You do?
Yeah.
What do you got?
I got guns, I got ammo, I got water, I got grass-fed beef, man. I got oh man, I got tubs of protein.
I got nothing, dude. I got a 1995 Japanese minivan and about 30 servings of Santa Cruz Paleo protein powder, and that's it.
Yeah, but like, you know, like I think it's smart to be like prepared for the world then, but dude, it's not. It's just gonna keep on rocking, man. Things are gonna get crazy sometimes, but don't doom spend all your money or don't do it for that. Build yourself up.
Invest in yourself, because what if it does work out? What if the world doesn't end?
Yeah, then you're just fucked.
You know,
you have a cool T-shirt or whatever.
You have a cool shirt, yeah. I mean, if the shirt is like, you know, if you like it, I guess.
Nups brand.
Nups. Yeah, Nups preferably.
All right, next current event. Have you heard about the Nickelodeon thing?
No.
Okay, so the Nickelodeon thing is crazy,
SpongeBob
bro.
Going down, or what's the deal?
Kind of. So okay, the Nickelodeon logo. First of all, people are saying looks like Epstein's Island. Like it's like exactly like the Nickelodeon logo. Literally looks like. Well, they come up with that crazy thing, but they're coming up with that because there's a lot of stuff to like back some weird stuff going on there.
Right.
I'm watching this documentary right now, and like the guy that was basically like the head of all this Nickelodeon stuff, like when Amanda Bynes and stuff was like famous on Nickelodeon, was a creep. He was dude. It is so creepy. He would put all these scenes of people's feet in there, like little girls' feet. He would do these things where girls would get like stuff like squirted on their face. And like do like way too many scenes for that. Like he was a creep, bro, and he looked like a creep. And that doesn't really help his case, like just the way that he looked. Like he looked creepy. And then like the parents, in my opinion, because like, you know, I want to have kids in the next like whatever a couple of years. Like there is no way I would just send my kids off to like some child acting thing and just be like, yeah, you're gonna go here and like good luck. Like I would not do that. I don't know if that's like crazy, but like, yeah, what do you think?
I mean, were their parents like not there?
They were there sometimes, but like other times
they
just
would
like
have to be there, like child labor laws and stuff. I feel like
but they eased around a lot of them. There was some really sketchy stuff happening.
They broke them during the show.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't send my kid off like if they're 10 or 12 or 16. You know, I don't know. I feel like completely well, I guess maybe 16 depending on where they are in life.
Yeah,
but
I think there's going to be some connection we find with like this, like everything that's going on with P. Diddy, Epstein's Island,
what the heck's going
Nickelodeon.
on with P. Diddy?
Oh my God, Tanner doesn't know what's going on with P. Diddy.
I don't know anything about this. Like, I feel
this
weird
is
talking
great,
about these
dude.
current
This
events.
is like, as an anthropologist, this is like I've found Homo sapien in the original form.
I wake up, I drink electrolytes, I eat grass-fed beef, I go surfing, I edit, I make videos, I like try and laugh at some point during the day, and then I pass out.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
I love it. You're a pure soul, but I'm gonna have to poison you and tell you what's going on with P. Diddy right now. Okay, P. Diddy. Both of his homes in Miami and LA, his two main homes, were raided by feds, like full on with like guns, like mass, everything. Raided because he is under investigation for massive sex and drug trafficking. like massive. Like he flees in a private jet. I think he tried to get away in Miami, but he was like apprehended or something. I don't even know like if he got away or what happened. And they're basically saying that he is like, I mean, we don't know what's going to come out with it, but like people are saying there's some dark stuff that he's just been like raping fools and like doing it's bad, blackmailing people, like having these parties where he films like all this crazy shit happening and then like blackmails a bunch of people. It's kind of like not surprising to me because it's like Hollywood is evil. But yeah,
yo, that's crazy. You know, there's some crazy stuff going on in the world. I knew that, but this is what the heck.
Yeah, it's crazy. Don't go too Hollywood on us, Tanner. Tanner did some stuff in Hollywood. He was there. Did anybody try to invite you to a party and have you?
No, there was no weird stuff. Yeah.
No weird stuff?
No weird
Okay.
stuff, yeah.
Well, to make it, you might have to go do that
I also
stuff.
could have just been clueless to like them inviting me to do something, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, what?
No, I'm going to
I'm
surf
gonna go,
later.
I'm
They're
going to
like,
go to the
like,
beach. See
come
you
to P.
later.
Diddy's house. We're going to chain you up. You're like, no, I was going to go, it's pumping down in El Porto. And they're like, did you not hear us? You're like, all right, so, all right, next current event.
Let's talk about the Speed Project. Nobody knows about that.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. The Speed Project is a 300-mile running race from LA to Las Vegas.
Oh my God.
And there are people who've been soloing it. I have done like a little bit of research, but I haven't done a crazy amount. But there's groups that you can relay, and then there's other ones that you can solo. And the whole thing is built on just like there's no spectators, there's not much coverage, and then you pretty much just run from like Santa Monica or something all the way to the sign in Las Vegas. And yeah, one guy finished. I forgot his name. It starts with an A, I think, but he finished in like 76 hours. You know,
Dude,
300
see,
miles.
This guy
in 3
ran.
days.
This guy ran 300 miles, 76 days or
No, 76
hours.
hours.
I was like,
76
that's
hours.
a long time.
3 days.
Okay. And here's the thing, guys. Tanner doesn't even remember his name. There's not a lot of glory in that sport, is I guess what I'm saying. Maybe there's self-glory. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. It's just crazy, though.
dude, it's insane. Imagine how many electrolytes they have to drink during that. I bet somebody's out there using Santa Cruz Paleo, man.
They better.
They better be.
They better. It'll be me next year.
Yeah. Are you gonna do? Are you gonna
I
get
don't know.
into ultra marathon?
It piqued my interest.
Yeah, okay, so you have a 30-mile race tomorrow. If you crush that, are you gonna get into like longer races?
I don't know because like people break their feet and stuff when they run.
Yeah.
And I'm down to like push it really hard, but I just also don't want to not be able to surf.
You should do a unique paddle one, like Molokai to Oahu.
Yeah.
You crush that easy, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. There's like him like dying on the thing.
Yeah.
Do some other unique thing, man. Paddle to Hawaii, man. Figure it out. Yeah. We gotta really, dude, Tanner, you're a Santa Cruz Paleo sponsored athlete.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you. If you want to continue this sponsorship, you're gonna have to do some really intense shit. Okay. I want Guinness World Records. I want one Guinness World Record every month. Okay. So you're gonna have to figure it out. I think you should paddle from like Canada, Washington up there, somewhere to San Diego. We're having this rental house in Del Mar. I want you just to paddle up onto the beach.
That's it?
Boom. Yeah. You can do that, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Easy. All right.
I mean,
Next current event. Have you heard what's going on with the vape pens that these kids are using?
no.
Okay, so here's the crazy thing. All these kids are using vape pens, right? Either whether it's the za or whether it's tobacco. Well, Canada just did this new study, and what they are finding is tremendous amounts of heavy metals leaching into those because they are made with metal, and you're heating that up, and it's going into this like viscous oil. And as you know, you're into all this stuff. Oil is like a really good solvent. Like it's gonna draw a lot of that stuff out.
I'm into vaping.
You're like an engineer.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. Go on. Yeah. I was like, wait, I'm not into vaping.
Yeah. Just ruin his whole brand. Like, yeah. Okay. So what's going on is heavy metals are leaching into these cartridges. And so like people aren't only inhaling like horrible things oftentimes if they're using like tobacco ones, but they're also literally inhaling heavy metals. So it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, when are people going to figure out that smoke and stuff isn't good for you?
Yeah, seriously.
You shouldn't do
and
it.
it gets like repitched.
It doesn't make any sense.
Every few years it gets repitched by some
Yeah,
company.
it's like
They're
some
no, we
different
made it
thing."
strawberry and it's just the nicotine. You're good. And then people like 10 years later are like, there's a wave of cancer.
Yeah,
like,
it's something crazy. Like, when are you just going to not do that? Like, we just need to give better options for that, like going outside or surfing or
going outside,
anything other
surfing.
than that. Like, you don't really
No, you don't
really
need to
don't need it. It doesn't make you any cooler.
It doesn't. It definitely does not make you cooler. These Zins too, like the Zins are a big
the
thing.
Zin
and,
thing, man. Like, aren't people are gonna be getting mouth cancer from that, right?
I think people are gonna be getting colon and mouth cancer if they use that stuff a lot. I just did a whole podcast on it with a guy, and like it
His whole
appears.
brand is the Zen.
Yeah,
gang.
and like it's not as bad as like tobacco in many ways, and like a lot of the studies are done on tobacco, so you can't like use those studies for something that's just nicotine. But what nicotine is definitely doing in your body is basically cranking up a bunch of these neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and also norepinephrine, adrenaline. Like it does a lot of these it just ramps you up. So it ramps up like your parasympathetic nervous system and your the opposing neurotransmitters, to simplify it, of all those things that it ramps up are the neurotransmitters that help you rest, relax, and like our bodies are supposed to have this balance. And I can't imagine it's a good thing to every single day be putting in one of those patches, ramping all that shit up in an unnatural way, and then just expecting that there's no like downside to that. So, I don't know, man.
Isn't nicotine like the most addicting substance on the face of the earth? One of them?
It's very, I mean, yeah, there's a crash that comes when people, if they just stop using those Zins cold turkey, because every day they're ramping up their dopamine, serotonin, all this stuff, just like ramping everything up. And then just like, if you stop doing that, that's why they don't stop doing it. I mean, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Well, and humans are creatures of habit too. So you got to figure your body works in that same way. Yeah. So I would think in the sense of maybe if you flipped it from the Zins and the cigarettes and whatever and moved it into like health, then you become like that creature of habit of just like being healthy and well. And you don't need that, like you don't need that boost. Like I think,
and there's things that give you a boost that don't drop you off. They've done studies on this. Like cold exposure, it will increase your dopamine, but it doesn't drop off. Exercise,
like a real slow
boom, dopamine and the slow drop off.
Yeah.
Zins, alcohol, other things like that. You get that dopamine increase, but it drops off so hard. And anybody that's like, drinking a bunch of alcohol experiences that. But like when I go for a good surf, I'm getting cold water exposure, I'm getting dopamine. I don't feel like a massive drop off. You big wave surfing actually do get you get that crash.
Yeah, we definitely get the drop off, especially after.
But that's a pretty insane
after
activity.
Yesterday. I don't think I will. But the times where you're surfing big waves or something super traumatic like that leg breaking happens, and you come off of it, you like fall into a depression for a couple weeks because everything is so just like out of whack because you were just fearing for your life for like 6 hours.
Yeah, you literally had an insane rush of those neurotransmitters. Your adrenaline was pumping, norepinephrine pumping, and your brain literally does, like your brain like works like a pump, and like there's only so much juice you have in there. Yeah, maybe it's worse than nicotine. It's worse than nicotine. Don't surf big waves, guys.
Oh, man.
Go have a nice, fun surf session with me. So yeah, I think that'll wrap it up. You have a race tomorrow, somewhat near here, 30-mile race. You're gonna be pumping electrolytes. We're gonna go get some food right now because we gotta feed you, man.
I'm hungry, man.
We gotta keep this boy fueled up. But yeah, that's it for Santa Cruz Medicinals Radio. If you want to follow Tanner, just search Beach Cowboy. He launched these shirts. Never underestimate the power of a smile. I got one. My girl is washing it right now to keep it fresh, and I'll be rocking it next week. But yeah, where can people find you? All that.
Yeah. Find me on social media, Instagram, YouTube. I post a video on YouTube every single day. All the, like, about half of the profits that I make off of the shirts, like Brendan just mentioned, in the sweatshirts and everything that I'm starting to scale up, I donate that to like a fund. And then I use that fund to get people access to like surf lessons or therapy or equipment. So that's kind of the whole point of the brand. It's like, instead of spending money on advertising, like I can use my social media and then push that money into like good hands, like get people outside, get them stoked and not using Zins and and vapes and whatnot. But yeah,
get off those vapes, boy.
Also just trying to ride giant waves and do hard things,
Let's go. Guys, if you want to come surf with us, we'll be surfing Del Mar Beach Break a lot now because we have a studio down there. So if you want to catch a surf, let us know.
We'll be there.
We love y'all. Peace.